questions.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we are on the Substack Live today with Jonathan Jordan. Hi Wendy. Okay, so we're getting people ready, which is awesome. Um, Jonathan, okay, so just brief intro for anyone watching later. Jonathan and I met on LinkedIn. Um, Being part of the book professionals world, the
Hmm.
LinkedIn algorithm was like, you guys should meet. And so we have, and there was one really interesting LinkedIn post that was made maybe about a year ago, Jonathan, about how you used to be a social worker in Texas,
Yes.
and um you had a series of epiphanies about money, about
Hmm.
helping people, about I just and we'll dive into all these awesome conversations and unpacking all that later. But Jonathan, I just want you, feel free to who are the heck are you? Introduce yourself and what do you do?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and first off, thanks for having me here. Like, I love that we've been able to chat about this before and get to share it with other people because I hope it helps other people because I lived in a scarcity mindset for so long and I still struggle with it. It's still something that I have to really keep tabs on. But yeah, I am a full time ghostwriter and book coach. Now I've been book coaching in some capacity since 2018, but I started doing that full time in 2022. And most of the people that I work with are CEOs, they're founders, they're entrepreneurs. And it's really kind of funny as you get to know some of these people who have the picture of success and who like have all the things. They've done all the things. I mean, one of my clients, it's like when he retired, his gift from his company to thank him for his service was $60 million. Like that was his bonus. And it's
Mhm.
like, it's easy to look at people like that and be like, oh man, like I want to be there one day, but I can never reach that.
Mhm.
And for that scarcity mindset keep coming back, then you get to know these people and you see that so many of them actually came from the same circumstances. And like so
Mhm.
many of my most successful clients did not start out from wealth. They did not start out having everything they wanted. They came from frugal backgrounds. They came from very scarce mindsets in some cases. And they also had to go through this journey of figuring out like why they were letting scarcity drive their decisions instead of saying, no, I deserve more and I'm capable of having more and I can do more for the world when I have more, right? Like it's not just a self focused thing of like, I just want stuff and I just want more money. It's also you can do so much more good for the world when you have money and like literally my wealthiest clients are also the most generous people I've ever met. So this like idea that a lot of people have that like, the rich are just like hoarding everything for themselves. That's not been my experience from getting to know these people and seeing how they live their lives. They tend to do a lot of giving and a lot and have a lot of generosity in their hearts. So yeah, over the years, it's just kind of made me revisit how I think about money.
Mhm.
So yeah, a little background. I'll keep this really, quick. Like I did not come from a super wealthy family by a long shot. My dad was a Baptist minister, so like we didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, and I think a lot of my decisions in life have been formed around that idea of I can only do what's inside of this box. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
Even to the point of when I got my degree in English in college, like I'll
Mhm.
tell people that I got my degree in English literature and they say, "Oh, so you always wanted to do this. Like this was always your path."
Okay.
And I have to tell people like, yes, I did always want to be a storyteller. I wanted to be a paid writer, but I fell into the myth at the end of college that writers don't make money. And
Mhm.
because that's what I was told is, oh,
Mhm.
so you don't really want to eat if you
Mhm.
want to be a paid writer. So you got to figure out something else to do with your life,
Mhm.
unless you're willing to do years of internship and low paid jobs, and maybe you'll make it into something,
Yeah.
financially sound one day.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so that took me off course and The insane part of my story is why in the world would I choose social work
mean,
instead?
yeah, I get it. I've been there. I've had friends who
Yeah.
it's a very noble thought to do. You see people suffering and you want to help them. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, and especially coming out of college, it's like I didn't have responsibilities. I
Mhm.
didn't have a family back then. I felt like, okay, while I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, if I can't be a paid writer,
Okay.
then at least let me do some good in the world for a
Mhm,
few years
mhm,
and give back and do that while I can. But
mhm.
a few years turned into 8 years. And
Okay.
then suddenly I realized, uh-oh, this isn't the path I really wanted to go down permanently.
Mhm,
And again, like social workers don't make a lot of money by this point. I did have a family, I was married, I had a
yeah,
kid,
mhm,
and I'm working 80 hours a week, like on call, responding to situations, and it
mhm,
wasn't sustainable. So
mhm,
I basically had to do a whole life reset and just be like, okay, I've got to kind of start over. I've got to get out of this because it's just not
mhm.
healthy. And so that's what eventually led me into sales and into media,
Oh,
just to kind of figure out like what do I want to do for the rest of my life. And so
mhm,
while I was in that sales job, I also started freelancing, and so the sales skills came in handy, but so did the social
mhm,
work skills, the empathy, the learning how to listen to people, learning how
mhm.
to
Yeah.
not judge others too quickly. Like all of those things came in handy as a
Yeah.
freelance writer, and, after a few more years, then I was able to justify leaving my 9 to 5 sales job and do
Mhm.
this full time. Um, the scarcity mindset still hadn't completely changed, but that's at least what got me to where I am today to start with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like scarcity mindset, like, I mean, if we're talking like if we're infinite, like we'll always have some version of it. It's always a work in
Hmm.
progress. But let's I'm just so fascinated. This is what I'm wanting to learn. Like, what was there like one big like wake up moment when you were like, what am I gonna do the rest of my life after 8 years? First of all, okay, back up.
Yeah.
How did you okay, maybe you started in social work in college, after college. You didn't have a family, you wanted to do good in the world.
Hmm.
And that is a very noble pursuit for sure. In fact, like social work is important and valued and valuable. But let's talk about like maybe like at one point how did you realize that, oh my gosh, like this has been 8 years? And if you could think back on it, like why 8 years? Like, even when you started, you probably didn't think it would be 8 years.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far just because it's a long story. The short
Okay.
version is that my wife and I bought a business
Yeah.
literally 2 months after we got married, which was not,
Okay.
it wasn't really on our like first year marriage bingo card. That's not a marriage advice I give to anybody. Like,
That's
don't buy a
hilarious.
business. Yeah, don't buy a business in your first year of marriage.
Oh my god.
But but because we decided to buy that business, I basically had to put my long-term plans on hold because my wife ran the business. Even though I was co-owner and I did a lot of the back end things, like some of the marketing, some of the like CFO type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it was really her baby and it was really hers to grow. And so I said, okay, we need at least one steady, predictable income while we're paying off this business.
Mhm.
So just going to stay put where I am. So that's the short version is we bought a business that we later sold after 4 years once we became parents. It was just
Mhm.
she didn't want to do it anymore. It was just hard for her to both be mom and business owner. She hadn't figured out that balance yet.
Yeah, I
Our
get
kid had medical needs that needed extra attention. And so
you.
we decided to sell that business. But
Mhm.
that's probably the shortest version is that business kind of forced me into a position where I
Mhm.
had to stay in social work longer because, at least I liked what I was doing and I liked where I
Mhm.
was and it was predictable.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and yeah, totally get it. So yeah, then what? So yeah, like if you had been in that position where you were the steady breadwinner, and I guess why I'm digging into this is because I think a lot of us find ourselves in a scenario where it's like I have to have this money or else
Mhm.
It's gonna hit the fan.
Mhm. Mhm.
That and is also a belief that kinda keeps us stuck too. So or I mean, maybe it was that, maybe it was something else, but, like, how did after 8 years, you were just like, I don't wanna do this anymore," or yeah, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was burnout. It was also realizing that I couldn't really grow in that career. Like there
Okay.
was a very
Yeah.
like low ceiling of other things I could do since I didn't have a master's degree in social work and I
Mm,
had no interest in getting a master's degree
yeah,
in social work.
yeah.
So yeah, so it was just one of those things of like I have to make a decision. I have to do something that's better for my family. And so again, I made that shift into working for a media company where even though it was a sales role and not a writing role, at least it put me into, I was adjacent to the storytelling world.
Mhm,
And there was more opportunity for me to earn more than I had before,
mhm,
not crazy money, but better than what I was getting. And like the schedule was a lot better. It was like, yeah, you're working 40 hours a week. That's it. And you don't have to take anything home from work, which was nice. So it allowed me the space to be able to explore freelancing as a side gig initially and to grow that business. And you know what? My first paying client came from that job. It was a
mhm,
coworker who wanted help writing her book, and I'd already helped another coworker with her children's book for free.
mhm,
And she was like, "Hey, I will pay you money to help me figure out how to get my book into the world." And
mhm,
the rest is kind of history from there. Like
mhm,
that helped me build my portfolio. So I
mhm,
think, that's freelancer advice I give to a lot of people is like your first client is probably closer than you realize. And you
mm,
really just need to be more open and talk about what you're building with people because
mhm.
you'd be
Yep.
surprised how many people will come to you and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing I haven't told anyone else." Or,
Yeah, yeah.
my spouse is writing a book. My best friend is writing a book. They need help. Like, if you just start talking about it, opportunities start coming.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah, did you feel like because when you had gone from social work to this new role in sales,
Hmm.
and the word sales is highly triggering for a lot of people. I remember at one point
Yeah.
it was for me too. Yeah, like you hear the word sales and it sounds sleazy and even just like over the weekend my mom she grew up in Hong Kong, a very commercial city,
Yeah.
and the reputation of salespeople in Hong Kong is they are kind of out to get you.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to outsmart them. They're manipulating. So, okay, so how did had you had this been not a triggering word for you, or did you have to unravel the sales part of this new role? And obviously you were well, maybe not obviously. I don't want to assume, but you were definitely motivated by wanting to provide for your family and
Right.
their life and for yourself as well. Um, but yeah, like how did you make that transition from there is definitely a big mindset difference. It's money mindset difference between someone who feels like they have to suffer at they have to suffer in order to do good
Right.
be at the same level as the people they're helping, or, um, if you have money, you can do more good. Like, that's a big shift in mindset, and what did that look like? What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, going into sales was kind of scary because I didn't love the idea initially,
Mhm.
and it was kind of a scary word, and I had a lot of those preconceptions about what sales means, and it's like
Yeah.
like being pushy and all of that kind of those negative connotations that we all jump to. There were several things that helped me in that role, but a big one was the organization that I spent most of my sales career with was doing good in the world as well. And that made a big
Mm.
difference. Like they were a SaaS company, and the main product that I worked on during my time there was for business leaders who wanted to provide more employee care tools. So we
Yeah.
had like a lot of video programs on things like marriage and finances and parenting, like real life issues people struggle with. And a lot of these companies, like they weren't mega corporations, they were just CEOs recognizing I know that my people are struggling with stuff and they're not going to come talk about their marriage issue with their boss. So, like, how can I give them resources that will help them through those issues? And so, I think for me, like, knowing that we were providing a tangible service that could help people with felt needs and issues, that made it a lot easier to sell because, like, it was even a tool I had used myself. Like, I had taken some of the classes and courses for my own good.
That's great.
So yeah, so that changed, like, being able to think about it in terms of not being a transaction, but really being something that you could care for the other person on the other side of the Zoom call. Um, and I think that's the big key for all salespeople is it's like you're never going to be successful selling anything if you don't actually believe in what it does. That's why it turns into a scam. If you don't really believe in the product and you don't
Yeah.
like that it's not actually going to help someone, then you're just scamming them at that point. But if again, if you actually care about the other person and you're providing a service that helps them or someone that they care about, then it changes the dynamic of the conversation, right?
Great. Yes. I remember having this huge realization myself too, because
Mhm.
I was really struggling with, I was like really good at like marketing and I could do that all, and I still could, but the sales part, it was like, where do I go from here? Like, I have this thing, but I don't know how to communicate it because that word was so scary. And you mentioned something so I signed up for a sales boot camp. I mean, at this point, it was 2.5 years ago. And they did a really good job of explaining and selling, basically. That, I mean, when you're, yeah, when you're a really good salesperson, it doesn't feel like sales because it actually feels like you're caring for someone and you have their best interest in mind and at heart. And you're you're framing everything in a way where it can benefit them in their life. And at that point, it feels so congruent with who you are and in your beliefs.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's a really good point, Jonathan, for anyone watching now or later, that a lot of folks kind of have these, fears around sales and even around the word profit, like even sometimes the word
Yeah.
profit. Um, yeah, sounds like so you smiled at that one. What are your yeah, what is your commentary on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a silly thing to be scared of, I guess. And again, I think it's proof of if you haven't recognized that you have a scarcity mindset, if you're scared of a word like that,
Sure.
that's a symptom because profit is not a bad thing. And I think anyone who's looking at their business bank statement, it's like at the end of the day, you do want profit there because what's going to happen if you don't have it? Your business is going to close, and that's not just a financial hardship if your business closes,
Yeah,
but now you're not able to serve people with the talents and the skills and the knowledge that you have that
exactly.
can actually make a difference for that other person. So again, like we tend to have this very, very narrow, one-sided view of business and what it means to be profitable. And again, it's not all about money, and money is not the root of all evil. Greed is evil, sure, but you can do so many good things if you are profitable and you can reach more people and you can help more people. So,
Mhm.
again, it took a long time for me to get to that point too. So I understand the fear and the hesitation, but that was a huge mental shift for me. Was recognizing why am I demonizing this word? But then
Mhm.
I'm stressed out at the end of every month when I don't have enough to pay the bills, right?
Right, right. Yeah, let's dive in I think okay, so let's dive into that, because I wanna hear about how you yeah, neutralize, I guess, I don't know what better word for that, but there's this awesome quote from this awesome founder, her name is Ann Byler, she founded Auntie Anne's Pretzels.
Mhm. Yep.
Uh, yep, I do you know her?
I don't know her, but it's funny you mentioned her because she did one of the video series that we had on our SaaS
Oh,
platform
really?
at
Was it
the
marriage
company I
counseling?
used to work for. What's that?
Was it marriage counseling?
No, oh gosh, I can't remember what her course focused on. I think it focused on on actually like employee like care, like listening to people. If I remember, it's been years, but I remember we had a course from her on there. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she's been pretty prolific with like the, coaching and things like that. But yeah, like she started Auntie Anne's. The reason I said marriage counseling was because she started Auntie Anne's because she wanted to fund like a marriage counseling for her Amish community. And she has,
Oh, okay.
yeah, she says like in order we have to be profitable so we can be charitable. And
Yeah.
that was like, oh, like that was a big brain blast for me. I mean, this was a few years ago, and I was still like, because there's all these words about on the internet and on TV about um they're just doing this for profit. It's about profit. It's about their margins at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like we demonize this word, but when it comes to like when you start your business or your freelancing career, and like all of a sudden you're now up against something that actually is kind of important for you and your family. Um, yeah. So, yeah, tell us about, what is your technique for like neutralizing these things like sales, profit, like all these, you have these scarcity mindsets in the past, but now you have a more abundant mindset now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of hard work, honestly, because I've struggled with anxiety for most of my life, and financial issues is actually a huge trigger for me. Like that will send me into a panic attack if I'm freaked out about money. But I think recognizing that and learning that that's one of my triggers has kind of forced me to also get better at seeing when it's rearing up and saying, well, why am I afraid of this thing? And have
Yeah.
there been times in my past where I was afraid of the same thing and then everything worked out, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, I literally, Renee, in 2016, I literally lost all my money. Like
Mhm.
it cannot get worse than that. Like I decided to start a separate sales business from that role I had because I thought like, well, now that I've learned sales, I could do this other thing and make more money. And it went horribly.
Mhm.
I lost everything.
Mhm.
That's not an exaggeration. We had $0. My father-in-law had to pay our rent 1 month.
Mhm.
I like started driving Uber to make ends meet because my business wasn't making anything and I didn't have a 9 to 5 anymore at that point. So I think like I constantly go back to 2016, 10 years ago, and I think I survived that. I survived that, you know? And so like
Yeah.
if I can get through that and build something new and build a better life for my family, then what else could really be that scarier? Like we can always find a solution, you know? And again, if you talk to like super wealthy people, like they'll even say something similar of like, if some freak accident happened and I lost everything tomorrow, I know how I would rebuild. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not freaked out about it. Like, I'm not gonna, like, end my life or do something drastic if that happened because I know how to rebuild. I've learned all these skills. I've survived worse things. And so I've gone back to that a lot of I've already faced the worst case scenario and I made it through. I don't always understand how I made it through, but I made it through. So I think
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a big one. You just sometimes have to like recognize fear for what it really is because it's good at disguising itself as logic. It's good at disguising
Jeez.
itself as yeah, it's really good at wearing the mask of reason and being like, well, but this could happen. And so you have to just kind of start to recognize when it is just fear making a decision for you
Mhm.
versus like tapping into your inner faith and recognize. And I'm not just talking about like religious faith. I'm talking about like that thing deep inside of you that tells you to keep going, no matter what you believe. Like all of us have that in us, and so it's a matter of like silencing the fear voice and like learning how to tap into that faith voice to say, I
Mhm.
can do something more. I can build more. It's tough, but it can be done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a skill in itself to
It
like,
is.
yeah. Um, and I mean, it's I appreciate how you're mentioning the like I mean, you experienced I mean, what I think a lot of people are afraid of, even though they may not have
Hmm.
ever experienced it, but you actually experienced it, and
Hmm.
um you are here now, and you didn't
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
somehow. Um, but, um, only just recently, maybe like a year or 2 ago, I
Hmm.
learned, that, like you were saying, like, fear is disguising itself as reason, and even just like when you do things with your business, because your business isn't making like a steady income, it's like you are the one making sale. You're doing things to help it generate income. Um, but are those actions coming from a place of, if I don't do anything, I'm going to lose everything. If
Mm,
I don't do
mhm.
anything, I will be homeless on the street. And we don't even realize that our, what is it, the hypothalamus or something, the part of our brain that's just like constantly trying to keep us alive and predict the future and predict
Yeah.
all the freak accidents. And but it's like, um, if you yeah, like, you actually had to experience that, but, like, I had a coach who was like, "Okay, now imagine the worst case scenario. What is your anxiety fighting against?" And I was like, "Well, it
Mhm,
homelessness. It would be being on
mhm.
the street and, I don't know, like, get it yeah, like, horrible violence happening and all this stuff."
Yeah.
And I mean, it could happen, right? But you were saying how, like, some of your clients and the people that you work with, they have done that. They have imagined, if I did lose everything, what would happen?
Mhm,
I have
mhm.
I have these skills. I have a plan now. I would do X, Y, and Z because I have these skills. I would do this to rebuild. And that gives you a lot of relief and kind of soothes you a little bit because you're like, oh, like it could happen and I have a plan and this is what I would do. And your anxiety can ride the back seat a little bit more rather than like being the front driver of it all the time.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, you're so right. It is an acquired skill. Like it really is something that you have to work at, but it starts with recognizing the scarcity mindset. It starts from like being able to differentiate its voice from your own
Yeah.
and kind of push the pause button, because if you're someone who struggles with anxiety like me, like part of the result of that is I don't necessarily like shrink back, but I think I need to take immediate action. I'm going to have to do this, I have to do this. And a lot
Yeah.
of times that first idea that you have about what action to take is usually a horrible instinct. so
Mm.
so it's like sometimes it's better not to take immediate action and to just like stop and like pump the brakes and just say, let me see how this plays out for a moment.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, it really work out once you have a little bit of patience and once you inject a little bit of positivity where you can go from having an empty pipeline to suddenly, one day you get like, three people who all want to work with you. It's like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
there's obviously more strategy to it and you need to be doing something, but you may not need to do the very first thing that you think of, which is like, I need to close up shop. I need to go, online and look for a new job.
Correct.
It's like that, those might be the wrong actions to take in that moment. When maybe what you should be doing is taking a deep breath, praying, meditating, just doing something that will bring you back to center, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Let's talk about like you mentioned your dad
Hmm.
was a Baptist preacher. Um, did, you know, I mean, you can share as much as you feel comfortable with.
Yeah,
Do you, what were, yeah, and let's talk about religion as well. Like some
sure.
religion, some circles of religions, create pressure when it comes to money and the abundance mindset, and like if you make
Yeah,
money, then you know it's bad, it's evil.
right.
Let's talk about that. Like, how did you? When did you start becoming aware of that? Did okay? Sorry, back up. When did your dad
Yeah.
still or your mom instill any kind of religious beliefs around money?
I mean, yeah, to some extent. I mean, I don't think they were always maybe the like most helpful. And I think they did the best they could. I mean, they definitely like taught me the value of like giving, even when you don't feel like you have enough. Like the importance of like it's important to be generous with what you have, even when it is little. And sometimes that means you're giving people time. Sometimes that means you're giving people your talent. Like it doesn't always take form, in terms of coins, right?
Right.
And so I think they did a good job of like teaching on that. And I think they also did a good job of teaching me again that money isn't necessarily an evil, because that definitely was a conversation like in the 90s in particular when I was growing up, of there was kind of this like concept in the Christian culture of like money is evil and you have to like run away from it and avoid it. And I don't think my parents ever like fully bought that, because there were people in their lives who again were wealthy and were generous and were doing good things with what they had. And
Yeah.
so I think I was shielded from at least some of that.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Well, that sounds great, and it sounds like there were some, like, seeds of, like, yeah, like, there were not all wealthy people are evil, and, generosity
Right.
is
Yeah.
is good, which is great, and where do you feel like, maybe then you maybe learned other scarcity mindsets that you had? If
Hmm.
if it wasn't your parents, then where do you think that they came from then?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it just has come from experience and learning from my clients, honestly, to stop looking at everything. Because I think I grew up very much with a bottom line mindset
Okay,
and
yeah.
like a can't mindset. Because it was like,
Okay.
here's the number, so we can't do X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think for my clients, what I've learned is that you have to stop looking at just the bottom line and you have to start looking at the top line of
Mm,
like, but where do I want to be? What do I want to achieve? And yeah, I may only have this right now, but how do I make decisions in a way that moves me towards raising that bottom line up to the top
sure.
line? Um, and so, yeah, I think again, they did the best they could. But I think my parents, at least when I was growing up, they've definitely evolved and changed over the years themselves. But I think they just kind of had that hard set mindset of, you have to live within your means, which is a great
Yeah.
teaching, right? Like it's so important to learn to live within your means, but they defined that only in terms of like, this is all you can have, because that's how they were probably raised.
Sure.
Right. I mean, their parents lived through the Depression. And
Mhm.
so like that doesn't leave you, that mentality doesn't leave you. And so yeah, I think they've seen over the years that that's not always the best way to think about. Like sometimes you do have to think about the future and what you want to achieve, and like how do you close the gap between what you have and what you want.
Wow. I'll take that. I'll take that to the bank with the top line, what you want to achieve. Yeah, I mean, just thinking out loud, like I get a lot of objections around like, well, I can't afford this right now, so I don't want to invest right now. But
Yeah.
it's a like you were saying, there's types of people who always will I mean, unless they change their identity and their beliefs that they will continuously revert back to or fall back onto what feels comfortable, which is the 3D, the I see the numbers in my bank account, therefore I cannot do X. Um,
Hmm.
but there are other people who, and this is something to think about as well, and for myself, even like there are there is a way, and I've pulled money out of my ass before many times to in order to achieve certain things and to
Yeah.
afford certain things because I believed that this future reality was available. And I'm just thinking out loud, like I should probably, like bust that out the next time someone gives me a price objection about like, the
Yeah.
the 3D isn't, their like eyes are like this, but like bro, like, how many times have you have found a way, to make it work, and because you believed in yourself and you believed in something that was bigger than your small self.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that. It's like you have to find ways to invest in yourself, and that may be really small in the beginning. That small investment, it may be,
Yeah,
it may be $500 to go to a convention or a conference, and you crash on a friend's couch who lives in that city.
yeah.
So it's like, Yeah, but you have to invest in yourself. You have to grow, and it took me a long time to get to that point. Like, it's really only been the past year and a half that I've started doing that more actively. And I mean, like earlier this year, like it's still hard for me, but like earlier this year, I had to really coach myself and talk myself into spending 8 grand on a marketing service because I kept putting it off. And I kept being like, oh, like, there's got to be something cheaper out there. And it's like, yeah, there are cheaper things out there, but sometimes you also get what you pay for, you know. And I just kept putting it off, and finally I said, I can't do that. Like, it's time for me to make this investment, knowing that it may not pay off for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, but it will pay off eventually, and I'll be glad that I did it when that happens. Or like even right now, I'm launching an app, which is scary. Um, and that hasn't been super expensive, but it has required some investment. It's required a lot of investment of time. Like, I've had a lot of 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. nights recently. And I've had a lot of like telling my kid no to certain things because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get this app out there into the world and use it as a new like income stream and as a new way that I can help people. And it requires a lot of time for me right now. And so it's like, he's thankfully, like, we're a homeschool family. We already spend like 24 hours a day with each other. So like he's pretty understanding that if I have to say no to an activity right now, it's a kind of a short term thing. And it's because I'm just in the middle of a big project. So it's like, yeah, you make those little sacrifices and sometimes big sacrifices,
Sure, yeah.
because you're looking at the top line now and not the bottom line.
Okay, I'm taking that to the bank.
Yeah.
Top line, not the bottom line. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk then about your ghostwriting business, book coaching
Hmm.
business. And just to segue a little more nicely. So so you were saying how you started a sales job after your social work job and you
Yes.
started getting clients, and over time it started snowballing into more and more freelance work. And
Hmm.
uh I mean, yeah, you're not cheap, Jonathan. You charge what you feel like you deserve and you feel like you can bring others value with. So, talk walk us through some of that journey of like maybe you didn't start out, probably not, but the price that you charge now, but how did you feel more and more comfortable to raise that temperature to allow yourself to charge more and get it even, So walks that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is talking to other people in their space.
Oh yeah.
So many people are scared to talk about money because it is sensitive and it is personal. But I think over the past few years, there's been a great movement, especially within the freelance community, of being more open about here's what I'm charging. And I think that was the big wake up call for me because even though I was full time and had broken through the 6 figure mark that everyone's trying to get, I still felt stymied and I just still felt like I couldn't make a ton of headway until I started finding out what other ghostwriters were charging. And and some of them were people who hadn't done as many books as me. And some of them were people who their books hadn't won, as many awards as mine had. And so I'm like, okay, this isn't necessarily like a talent issue like I thought it was,
Fair
or
enough.
even, yeah, or even like an experience issue of, oh, they've been doing it for 10 years and I've only been doing it for 5. This is an issue of like, I'm not recognizing my own results. And so like I tell people I've got a page on my website and you kind of have to dig for it a little bit on purpose. But I have a page on my website that lists out all like the accolades that my clients have won.
Yeah.
It's honestly more for me than it is for prospects. Like there are days I literally will pull up that page and it's there to encourage me and remind me of what I'm worth. Because when I see like all those accolades and I see the awards my clients have won and the things that they have accomplished because they worked with me, it reminds me like, yes, I am worth this. And so I shouldn't like be discouraged that someone told me, hey, you're out of my price range or I'm not interested. I just have to go back to that and remember what I'm worth. Because otherwise you drift back into that scarcity mindset and you think, well, maybe this time I'll lower my price to this so that I can get the yes. But then you're juggling like 8 projects at once and you're still struggling to make ends meet. you know,
Yeah, that's not a good
that's,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, like, feel like I've struggled with feelings of worthlessness for probably my whole life, like,
Yeah.
and like you were saying, like, your parents didn't know any better. Like, they were just my dad is from India, very poor family. They grew up in a like, if you can imagine, like, an Indian village, like,
Yeah.
people got, like, cities and things in India, but, like, a village in India. Like, people think about villages in the US, but villages in India. And then my mom, like, she grew up in Hong Kong, but her parents, and her grandparents, I mean, there were some good things, but there's also a very frugal mentality in the Chinese and
Right.
Indian, of course. Um, but, yeah, like, it was usually about, like, let's earn our worth. Like,
Hmm.
how the grades are getting. Are you in the
Hmm.
spelling are you beating me in chess? In fact, like, I have this friend who was like, "Hey, come play chess with me." And I'm like triggered because I just had so many I cried tears in front of that chessboard so many times because I was just like, "Oh my gosh," when you don't win, you just feel like worthless.
Yeah.
Um yeah, like, and then when it comes to money and vocation, and it's like, if that mentality is so tied with, when you were a kid and growing up and the grades and how the grades lead to vocation and and it's like all of a sudden you're like up against all of these. So I mean, full transparency, like, it's not I've been in a sales boot camp for like 2.5 years, but the biggest thing for me still is um hoping a client will work with me because then I'll be good enough. Then I'll be
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah.
Then even if it was $0. I mean, I like how you said, like, you still have to every time you have to, like, pull up the sheet or pull up the accolades and, like,
Yeah.
remember, like, it's good to kinda continuously bathe yourself in that. But yeah, I'm hoping one day this will be surrendered because it's not fun and it hurts
No.
and it blocks you and you're feeling small. And so, I mean, like, I like how you I will I mean, I have a client page of wins, which is awesome, but maybe I just need to
Yeah.
make more of myself. Like, look at what you've done for other people. And it's not
Right.
because you necessarily, but it's through you. Like, they ultimately did that. I mean, these wins are my clients, but
Right.
it would yeah, it's just it's that's such a great idea. I would love to have something like that that says, like, they were able to accomplish these things through you, and that's like, okay, like, worthiness is a big thing. So,
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, again, it was one of the best kind of like accidental exercises that I ever did because it was really just a website thing of like, oh yeah, I should probably list out
Mm,
things that my clients have done so that I have some social proof, yada yada yada, right? But the unexpected benefit was being able to look at it and be like, oh, hey, I'm actually pretty good at what I do apparently. Uh, so
right, and then
um,
brain, that
yeah,
little piece in your mind is just like, "Oh, shoot, yeah," and it
yeah,
just loses its, ammo, and you're like, look, evidence right here." Yeah. Um, okay, so then tell us about your ghostwriting services.
yes,
And um, yeah, how did you there's a lot of freelancers out there, a lot of
yeah.
ghostwriters. And you definitely stand out, Jonathan. And um I'm curious to hear about how you evolved into someone who knows that you stand out.
Hmm.
Tell, like, from an identity standpoint, like, you do certain things because you know you stand out. And then on a, like, just on a technician level, like, what do you do with your clients that helps you to stand out? Like, like, your craft.
Yeah. Man, that's a big question. And it's a
Fun.
hard one to answer without feeling like I'm patting myself on the back a little bit. But
This is your
I
place.
mean, yeah, I mean, I got into ghostwriting kind of accidentally, and I think a lot of ghostwriters have done so. I started out purely doing developmental editing and book coaching, and ghostwriting happened because there were so many times that I would leave notes for clients when there would be an incomplete thought in their manuscript. And I would say, hey, you need to bridge this gap a little bit better. And I would give them an example because I believe that's part of my job is to not just say, here's the problem, but also offer up a solution. And so many times I kept noticing they would literally just copy and paste what I put in the note. And like I even had one of them one time, basically say something to the extent of, your comment actually matched my voice. So I just decided to use my suggestions literally word for word and even telling me, hey, it's cool how that example paragraph you gave me matched my voice. So I just used it and changed a couple
Yeah,
words. Because
which is
yeah,
literally what we're doing. Mhm.
yeah, and really before that point, I did not understand ghostwriting and I actually looked down on it. I was like, "Oh, that's cheating.
Mhm.
That's selling out." But when I started to
Mhm.
see that pattern, especially with one of my projects where I had to rewrite a lot of portions because it was part of
Mhm.
my agreement with the author, I realized I'm ghostwriting, but not actually being compensated as a ghostwriter. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
really
a really
what
good
got
point.
me.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what got me into it. And then it was just kind of steady progression of like, I got my first small ghostwriting deal that was like
Mhm.
$3,000 for like a short book, like a short little
Mhm.
ebook, not too difficult of a project. Then that turned into my first like 5-figure deal. Like suddenly it's like, oh wow, I just
Mhm.
got paid, $10,000 to work on this book. And yeah, of course that took like 6 months, So in the beginning,
Mhm.
it was still a side gig, but then, you start stacking and you start figuring out,
Mhm.
ways to scale your pricing and you talk to other people who are doing the same thing and you realize like, wow, I'm undercharging apparently compared to other people. So it's
Mhm.
like, I
Mhm.
know not everyone can afford what I do now, but I look at people who are ahead of me who are, charging 75,000, 80,000, 100,000, even over that. Or when I went to a
Mhm.
ghostwriting conference last November and you got
Mhm.
someone on the stage talking about how they just made 400 grand from
Mhm.
ghostwriting like 1.5 books in a year. And you're just like, man, I've got some things to figure out about who to work with.
Yeah,
So yeah,
very.
again,
Mhm.
I think professionals need to be talking to each other about money and be
Mhm.
less scared because the more we talk about it, the
Yeah.
more we can learn from each other and scale that pricing. And you can't do it overnight. You can't go from charging $10,000 to 100,000. I mean,
Yeah.
you can try. If you find someone willing to pay you 100 grand on your
Mhm.
next book, like great. But you
Mhm.
do have to have
Mhm.
kind of a long term strategy of like, okay, I'm now scaling to 30,000, now scaling to 40,
Yeah.
and you just keep building and building, and
Yeah.
and it becomes easier to say yes to the right opportunities.
Yeah.
And those clients also tend to be a lot better. They just do.
Mhm.
They just tend to listen more. They tend to have better feedback because of what they're paying. And so they
Yeah.
just tend to be better clients and treat you well. Like some of my clients
Mhm.
now, I had one client recently who, like, I had to cancel a meeting because of a family emergency, and they didn't blink an eye. Like, they wrote back and they were like, take care of your family. Like, well, like,
Mhm.
just let me know when we can reschedule. Don't worry about it. And it's like, you don't get that with the people who are paying you $3,000 to ghostwrite, a 60,000 word book. But you do get that with the premium clients who see you as a person, they recognize your talent, they value your talent,
Mhm.
and they're just
Mhm.
genuinely good people. So, yeah, I've gotten to
Mhm.
the point where
Mhm.
it's not just about the money, even for me. It's not just
Mhm.
about, can
Mhm.
this person afford me? It's about, would I have a beer with this person even if we weren't working together? Like, are they a
Yeah.
good person who I'm interested in their story and I want them to win? Like, I want to see their
Right.
success because I like them as a human being. And that, to
Right.
go back to the sales conversation from earlier, that makes
Mhm.
the sales pitch so much easier when
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
are not hard selling yourself, but you're like, man, I want to help this person because they're a good
Mhm.
person, because I want to see them win, and there's some
Mhm.
good vibes happening here.
Right.
It totally changes the dynamic of the conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, I like how you said to grab a beer with someone.
Yeah.
'Cause some of the best sales interactions I've ever had as the seller and as the buyer have been
Mhm.
when you feel like you're like like kind of like joking around and like enjoying, and it
Yeah.
feels like such a fun experience. And both parties are really light and we're exploring together, and it's a little flirtatious even. And and I would love to practice that more, just to like
Yeah.
yeah, be at a place where that if we can lead with that, like um yeah, like who are the people that I would want to grab a beer with? And if so, it's
Yeah.
going to feel like such a more natural flowing conversation about them winning and them getting what they want and their vision being realized. And that's the very natural progression for for a really awesome sales conversation. Um and I'm just loving all these nuggets that you're dropping, Jonathan. I'm like, okay, you could do that. Like, I could try that. Like, I do that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it also, like, to go back to the generosity thing, it's like when you meet
Yeah.
someone who you really like and they're doing good in the world as well, like, it makes it a lot easier
Mhm.
then for you to be generous when you want to be. Like, just because,
Yeah.
just because I do charge what I charge doesn't mean I can't change that when the situation warrants it. Like, I have a
Yeah.
client I worked with last year who I really liked her.
Mhm.
She's part of an amazing organization that's doing real, tangible good in the world. And,
Mhm.
and like her budget was frankly probably about 10 to 15,000 under what I would normally quote.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I still said yes to the project because I liked her and I liked what she was doing,
Mhm.
and it was like my way to be generous and to give back.
Mhm.
And it's like I can offset that with another project, like, and that's why
Right.
and that's another
Mhm.
important part of scaling is so that you can say yes to those
Yeah.
type of opportunities. And I have a ghostwriting friend who does the same thing. Like, she started a whole branch of basically like, these are projects where I either don't charge anything or I charge very little
Mhm.
because these people would not normally be able to afford what I do, but they're doing good in
Mhm.
the world. And so, again, talk with other people and you get ideas like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and you've emphasized, talking to the other people in your field, and,
Mm,
I mean, acknowledging, like, I feel a little bit of resistance coming up from you right here about, like, like defensiveness and resistance and like, you know, sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, even the prices I charge feel high sometimes. How would I
yeah.
go around to their peers and like feel like I would be worthy to charge what they charge when I can someone sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm projecting my own feelings and thoughts about my price onto my price.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so but I it's like exposure therapy, like, if you're bathing in, these like you were saying, all these ghostwriters who are just, like, showing you what's possible, 400 grand for a book and a half,
Mm,
and they're working, and they're giving their best, and they're providing the best quality for someone, and, being well compensated for it so that they can do that, it shows you what's possible and available for you, so that's a really good point, and
yeah.
would love to I think another great nugget to bring into
Yeah.
this talk.
Well, and again, this is why I think every freelancer in particular, every
Mhm.
business person, period, like, you should take at least some kind of sales training at some point and learn some of
Yeah.
these skills so that you can lose a little bit of that ick factor. And like, one of the
Mhm.
biggest pieces of advice I got from my old sales manager that I've carried with me out of that job, he once said, don't quote based on your wallet. Like,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
because, and that's what you were just saying too, is like sometimes we
Mhm.
project that onto
Mhm.
what we're quoting, and
Mhm.
that has like stayed in my brain, like it lives rent free in my brain of just like, yeah, I can't quote based on my wallet because I'm not
Mhm.
the one who needs this service. I'm providing this service, and so that changes the dynamics of what's being of how I should value it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm gonna take that to the bank too. I mean, I've heard it said in various ways,
Hmm.
and it is a good reminder. And also, like you were saying, to continue to, even though if you don't quite quote based on your wallet, you probably will still feel some like fear or resistance when you see that number and you're like, I can't afford that. Therefore, this still feels like a lot. So
Yeah.
they're probably, and the work you're like you were saying is just continuously like like neutralizing and removing all of those blocks, because it's not about you, it's about the service that you're providing, the talents that you're providing, helping someone else realize their vision in a way that feels good for both parties. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I phrased it one time. I didn't say this to a prospect, though I think there are opportunities where it could come in handy. You just have to do it delicately. But I was
Mhm.
having just a networking call with someone one time who didn't understand how ghostwriting was priced. And he asked me about that. And he
Mhm.
said something
Mhm.
like, "So what, you make like what, $3,000 a book or something like that?" And I was like, "Oh, no, it's a bit more than that." And so when I told him like the
20
actual number,
extra.
yeah, when I told him like what I actually charge and what other ghostwriters are even charging, he was like, "Oh
Sure.
my goodness, like people are actually making that for ghostwriting a book." And so the way I reframed it
Mhm.
for him is
Okay.
I said, think about it this way. I'm working on a book for a client for at least 6 months. Like very rarely is it under the 6 month mark. Um,
Mhm.
Many times it's more like 8 months, 9 months, even a year or longer. So I said, think about this. In 6 months' time, like let's go with that shortest time frame. How much money do you want to make in 6 months? And when I phrased it that way, he goes, "Oh, I get it now." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like I get it. Like, I wouldn't want to make $3,000 for 6 months of work.
Yeah.
So now I see
Mhm.
why the pricing model is what it is. And so I think that's a helpful thought for a lot of freelancers
Mhm.
is yeah, not to
Mhm.
just look at the bottom line price again, but like what all is that entailing? How long is that project taking? All the
Yeah.
admin work you're having to do, the rewriting, the
Yeah.
connecting with people for additional interviews, the research. It's
Mhm.
like it's not
Yeah.
just about the number of words on the page, which is also why I don't think it's great to price based on word count. Uh, like you have to think about everything else that you are doing to make this project success.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent point. Um, and there's this awesome book. It's called The Generosity Mindset, which is actually
Mhm.
like very relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Amazing book on pricing. And the author, he's a friend of mine, John Ray. In fact, I'll plug his book in the show notes for this. But
Yeah.
he even recommends like yeah, like definitely take the time that you're putting into a project into account, but at the end of the day, like the person who's buying this sees value differently than you do, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
looking at um the emotional benefits, the thing, that maybe that means that it'll be off their plate so that they can finally feel less stress and they can finally have a better relationship with their wives that they haven't
Mhm.
had for like it can be deep, um and you can even at some point like decouple your time and your price and just price based on value for someone else. And that was an excellent book. Highly recommend anyone watching this now, later, anyone who, especially those who came from 9 to 5 who are going into
Mhm.
freelancing or starting their own practice. Pricing your stuff is a whole, I mean, mind fuck, and
Yeah.
it will challenge everything that you
It is.
know. Mhm.
There's really
Um,
no other way to describe it. That's perfect. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, it's a totally different. I feel like my brain did a full 180 from when I started doing like my first ever project that I did, Jonathan, for a
Mhm.
client was it was 6 months, $500.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah.
oh my
Been
gosh,
there.
yeah,
Been there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I like also you mentioned that you don't raise your price overnight. Like sometimes there's like influencers and things where like raise your price overnight, and sometimes like it doesn't make you could, but like you do need to have some evidence and be able to justify your price.
Right.
People are looking for evidence, the case for why your price is high, but at the same time, like over you will be able to raise your price over time. But keep going, like you were saying, and very soon, like you will be like, oh my gosh, like can't believe I'm charging this much. Past me wouldn't recognize me right now. So
Yeah. Yep,
yeah.
totally. And yeah, I think, that's why I always advise like freelancers too. It's like you have to have multiple pipelines. Like you really need like
Mm,
probably seven
mhm,
pipelines. You need like seven different baskets that money are coming
mhm,
in from. Because I think
mhm,
too many
mhm.
people, when they leave a 9 to 5 to start full time freelancing, they still have an employee mindset of
Yeah.
like, well,
Mhm.
I now work with
I've been there.
this organization, and there's some people who even encourage that way of thinking. And so
Mhm,
it's like I'm always looking for like new people to partner with so that there are
mhm.
multiple roads into my business. I'm always looking
Yep.
for ways I can create quote unquote passive income. That's
Sure.
why I'm building this
Mhm.
app right now.
Yeah.
Because it's
Mhm,
like you need those things happening as well. And
mhm.
you that way you're not sinking back into this like panic scarcity
Yeah.
mindset when one pipeline gets a bit dry, because that's going to happen eventually.
I know, yeah, like, yeah, and it's there are things outside of your control, and you can't control
Mhm.
everything, and, um, but yeah, like, acting from the place of panic, like you were saying, is it's a difficult place to be in,
Yeah.
so, okay, so Jonathan, we are I feel like we had a really I learned a lot of nuggets from you, and I think I said I'll take that to the bank like 5 times. Um, and so tell okay, so you do ghostwriting, you also have an app. Like, tell us where we can learn more about you. And I'll post your links in the show notes for this, but yeah, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah. I mean, I am most active on LinkedIn, as
Mhm.
you know, because that's how we met. And that's where you will see probably the most from me. However, that being said, one of my challenges to myself for growth this year was to do more video, which honestly I kind of dread and hate. So
Okay.
I've been forcing myself
Sure.
to like post some kind of video every single day for the past few weeks. So that being
Okay.
said, I am
Mhm.
also now on, I'm also more active now on Instagram than I've ever been. I'm also
Yeah.
I bit the bullet and started a TikTok. God help me. And I've been posting on YouTube as well. So it's like
Mhm.
I will happily beg for more people to follow me on those channels if you're already spending time there. Because yeah, so much of this is about visibility. And
It
sometimes
is.
you have to
Yeah.
push through that discomfort of the thing you're scared of and just give yourself that visibility. And we live in a time where those tools are available. Anyone can post a reel. Anyone can post a TikTok video. Anyone can post a YouTube short. Like there's literally no excuse to remain invisible these days. People just make excuses for stuff. And I'm saying that as someone who has made that
I
excuse, but
Yes.
yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm forcing myself to do all of those things right now, and I'm learning a ton from it of like what works, what
Mhm.
doesn't work, what people connect with and what they don't. And
Learn
it's
about
been good for
yourself.
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. That's great.
It's
Mhm.
been good for me. It's been good even for my anxiety of just realizing it's
Yeah.
never going to be perfect, and I just have to release that expectation, right? So,
That's
yeah, you can find me in those places as well. And yeah, my app that's going to launch next month is called forward.io. And it's a book marketing tool actually. So,
awesome.
yeah, so I've been beta testing it with people. The feedback's been really, really great. So I'll
Good.
be releasing that into the world because, as you know, Renee, that is a huge pain point for so many authors. And
Mhm.
I just realized I need to be doing more for my clients on that front. And so
Mhm.
the app is like an easy way for me to ultimately people need to have someone like you helping them, but it at least gives someone, especially while they're still working on their book, or if they have
Yeah.
an old book that's not doing so well that they want
Yeah.
to do better with, it at least gives them a tool to start with and to figure out what works for them. So I'm really excited about that coming into the world.
Awesome. And that reminds me, you reached out to me to test it. So let me get back with you on that.
I'll tell you what, I'll invite you to start using it before the official launch. I have a handful of people who aren't beta testers, but like I'm going to
Okay.
let them start using it early, as kind
Okay.
of like a first wave. Though I'll invite you for that part of it because yeah, beta testing closes in 3 days. Like I have a few more people who have to send me feedback, and then that part's done. So
Awesome.
yeah,
All right. Jonathan, I learned so much from you. I feel like I related to a lot of what you said. And I learned about your story more. And I feel like for a lot of freelancers who are going to be watching this now or later or whenever, that hopefully they can find some nuggets from this and to
yeah,
be out in the world, ask more people about their price and to release those scarcity mindsets and live more so that they can give more and do more good in the world, like you were saying.
hmm
So, thank you, Jonathan, for
no, thank
this
you.
really good conversation. And we will talk soon. Thank
Of
you so
course.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Renee.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Just we're